Before we get started with today's podcast, we'd like to ask returning listeners to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really enjoy it, share a link to this podcast with friends or family who would enjoy hearing our weekly discussions about basketball and basketball culture. Now, on to the show.
Yeah, isn't it amazing when Michigan can keep this game to a 19-foot, 9-inch game inside that three-point line? It's all there. Nice move by Steve Fisher here. Bring it into the 19.
Welcome to the 19-9 podcast. I'm here with Josh Barnett.
What's up?
And Dan Wood.
What it do, baby?
And before we get started, I wanted to talk about just a few things that have been going on. We had some podcasts that came out separate of each other. Dan talked to one of the Louisville players. You want to say a little bit something about that?
David Levitch. It's funny, after he came on the podcast, he gave away like $8,000 worth of winners in horse racing like the next weekend, which is pretty cool.
Did you capitalize?
I did. I did not win thousands of dollars. I think I won like 177.
So is it fair to say that being on this podcast does pay you then a little bit?
I mean, literally, we've been getting retweets. I've got some couple followers, and I mean, it's his best weekend maybe ever.
I love it.
After he comes on our podcast.
Couldn't be a coincidence.
That means he's coming back on, right?
He's coming to do a derby preview. He's going to do his whole card with us.
Love it.
Dude, I played a racing game Memorial Day party. It was badass. Just a little board game.
It's wild.
That shit's wild.
It's what gets people going at the
started off
stag, right?
Started off. No, this one's different. Better. Started off dimes and nickels. Graduated to quarters. Quarters to dollars. Dollars to $300 side bets. $300 side bets to $1,000 on a race on a board wooden board game.
Oh my God! I'm out on that.
I'll name names afterwards.
I cannot wait. Yes, is it the guy who drives a 2018 almost brand new vehicle?
Not anymore.
Fuck, I don't know. Probably
not anymore.
Yeah, it got wild. Anyways, that's my horse racing story.
We also had the shoe draft with Ian Stonebrook and Nick DePaula, which I listened to, loved that one. And then we've been doing the Tales from the Bench. We've got 3 of those out now.
Those are cool, man. I like those.
Thank you. I'll
tell you what, more for the Chucker.
I was going to say the Chucker. I was about to give him this. No, I was doing the same thing. He's been prepping those and getting a hold of those guys. But I've loved just hearing their stories. I think the guys, you don't hear about the guys sitting on the bench, but they have the stories because they're like, they're experiencing it. Whereas, the guys sometimes playing it, it's neat to hear them too. But I think when you're playing a sport, I think you guys probably agree, like you can't remember as much. I mean, some people are like LeBron and he remembers like every play. But when I was playing, it would just be like you're in the moment and almost couldn't even say what happened.
Assistants and bench guys have probably some of the best stories.
Yeah.
Well, some of your better coaches are your bench players too because they're soaking shit in.
Yeah. Talking to the coach sometimes too.
Right, exactly.
Well, let's get into the main part. We're going to talk about kind of recap the Jordan doc. We started pretty strong there with parts 1 through 4, but then I think all got pulled in separate directions. So just kind of curious how, your guys' take on 5 through the ending.
It was really good. I was hoping it would be great, and the backlash for me, the stuff was cool. There was a lot of really good stuff in there. But the fact that Jordan had final cut of everything still bothers me to this day. Jerry Krause could have like a 1 hour
rebuttal from the grave.
Yeah, I think that would be the most fair thing about that. It really bothers me.
It did. It was kind of shitty that the fucker didn't have a chance to
and nobody,
defend himself.
I was going to say, I think it's his fault because no one defended him.
Reinsdorf did a little bit.
Did he?
Yeah. I'd love to know how much of that got edited out, too.
I actually thought it was the opposite because Reinsdorf, everything stops with the owner, and he kind of was like, well, yeah, I went to Phil Jackson's house and talked to him, and he just wouldn't do it.
No, he didn't defend him on that. But
he defended the Pippen contract, which is right. He told him not to sign it.
And then early on,
also garbage.
He also said that
that was Pippen's fault.
He also said that Jerry was like a great dude.
It's Pippen's fault that someone screwed him over because he had
He's got a
family
fucking
issues.
agent. That's his own fault. He should never sign that deal.
I love Pippen.
Yeah.
I do too, but that was a fucking stupid deal.
You got to this is like old school, new school NBA though. You don't screw over your players like that.
He didn't screw him over. He signed him a deal.
No,
took him 5th overall from fucking a shit school and gave him a $6 million.
In the documentary, he says you shouldn't have signed that deal. How's that not like if you know you're screwing like a guy over, or you take advantage of it for a time, and when you see his value, you have to adjust that. And now a word from our sponsor. AZ Pizza is a build-your-own pizza place in Indiana and Kentucky. They have unique pizzas each month, like the White Lightning, an Alabama white barbecue pizza, and a ton of ingredients you can choose from to create something delicious on your own. Order online for curbside delivery at azpizza.com/order. Now, back to the show.
And it's coming out now that he lied about some things, and he's the most petty guy of all time. And I love that about him.
What? What are you saying?
So he came out and said that he did not ask if Isaiah was going to be on the team.
Right.
He's emphatically said that. There's video evidence. There's an audio that came out the other day that said he won't play unless Isaiah's out on the team. Like 30 years later, why do you care? Like he's the greatest basketball player of all time. He's one of the great. He's worth over $2 billion. Like he's done a lot of great things in his life. But if he's not the greatest at everything, it like gets at him for something.
Oh, I know.
I love that. Like I do too.
What was that game they were playing with the
quarters? Flipping quarters. That guy was awesome.
Like
that guy's the highlight of the whole thing.
Get the dime the closest to the wall. We're gonna play that after this too.
And he did the Jordan shrug.
Yeah. Oh my
fucking
God.
great.
The backstory of that guy was awesome.
Him.
Yes.
The backstory. I wish they would have the backstory of those things. Like that guy's story was awesome. His best friend. You told me how he became his best friend.
Yeah, George Kohler.
That's an awesome story. Like those things are what I wanted more of because it's stuff we've never seen. The things that rehash.
Yeah, but you're
over
talking
and over
about like a 30-part documentary.
Perfect.
Now. I mean,
what else we gonna do?
Would,
fuck
no,
else
I
is
know,
on?
but they just like it. That's not.
I just watched
plan.
Tom Brady shank shots for 5 hours.
But
and
do you
loved
really
every
think like this
second
is the last Jordan documentary that's ever coming out? Like they're clearly gonna after this one was as successful as it was. There's gonna be 30
Dan's gonna
more.
like the one that is produced by Jerry Krause's family after Jordan dies that he can't refuse.
just shit all over Jordan.
We just talked about this. I wish.
Were you cheering for
Krause-
Jerry Krause throughout the documentary or
No,
what?
man, it's hard to shit on a guy when he's dead, and he's very accomplished in a lot of things he did. And then just to like, no one gave his side of anything.
He broke up the Bulls.
He
It was
also
the
put 'em
greatest
together.
dynasty
But what
in
about
history.
what about the scene where Jordan's got a cigar in his mouth, baseball bat in his locker?
Oh my God!
Sign of a good man is to talk shit when the score is 0-0.
Oh man, I love
Is
that.
it not a sign of a good man to talk shit when the other man's still alive?
Wow,
100%.
that's true. Well, I mean, at some point you have to tell the story, right?
That scene that I'm talking about was fucking psychotic, by the way. I text my other friends besides you guys. Didn't text you guys because I don't like you. Text a group of
I
friends.
was here.
Oh, text a group of friends. I'm like, that was Mother's Day weekend. We weren't down here.
That's right.
So I text the group and I was like, dude, if Jordan wasn't a great athlete, that fucker would have been a serial killer. Like that dude's insane.
just like the focus.
Psycho.
You mean?
He was gripping that badge like Al Capone sitting in there.
Yeah.
That was my favorite scene of the whole
So
thing.
good.
But I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
that dude.
Smoking a
that dude's
cigar
serious.
in a basketball.
He
in
smoked a lot
locker
of
room.
cigars. I knew that,
All the time.
but they hid that. They didn't hide it in the documentary, but they hid that during his playing career. He was up to smoking like 6 cigars.
They almost
a day.
never showed it.
They didn't show it.
Yeah.
And he in a Cigar Aficionado, the first cover he was on a while back, I can't remember, 10 years ago or so, he talks about it, and it was an image thing.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want that image being put out there.
Oh no! Well, I feel like in the '90s it was a bigger deal because there were so many like anti-smoking campaigns.
But he's
like that would have been a huge.
He's
thing
also
for
been
him
a
to
big
not be
guy
part of
about
that.
like controlling his narrative. Always.
Right.
Republicans buy sneakers too. Never got really far out in that.
Well, he says that's a joke. That was a joke, though. That's out of context.
He pretty much goes in at the documentary and talks about how he's like, I wasn't gonna get involved. In that.
Yeah, I agree. He wasn't.
he's
He
always
wasn't going to
been
get
that
involved,
guy.
but he wasn't like a. He wasn't like a straight neutral.
But
either.
why do athletes have to get involved?
they don't? I agree.
Because we push them to. We
Why?
want it. We
But
want
why?
Because we
Because
think-
the guy that like the number one rule is you don't trust any politician. They're all
Not at all.
crooks.
They're
So
represent.
why would you get behind somebody that could come out 10 years later that they were a pedophile.
The
Well,
Epstein
no,
stuff.
no, they're because the athletes are representatives of our better selves, right? Like they're better, formed human beings. So when they speak on something, we want it to be true.
We hold them to a pedestal, and rarely do they ever live up to that from a ethical standard. Ever.
How could you?
There's
we
just no
we
way
can't.
to. No.
I mean,
think if you were 22 years old and had worth $10 million,
couldn't imagine.
Be unbelievable.
Couldn't imagine.
But we need to quit idolizing their like political stances, their all those things. Like we've done a bad job of putting them in situations where they almost have to pick sides.
But there's good sides of it too, right? Because
Yeah.
they can raise a lot of money for charities and do a lot of good things with that stuff too.
it's a
I
double-edged
just
sword.
don't. Yeah.
I disagree. I just think that like let people speak. Everyone gets so like, oh, don't do this, don't. I mean, filter it out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, they can speak. I think what I'm saying is it shouldn't be a big deal which side they speak.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Or if they stay in the middle and don't say shit.
Yeah.
I don't care.
well, you can get mad about
I still
it.
want to go watch you play basketball.
I think that's a theme though that I mean, you don't love like the outrage culture in general. And I think that's what's hard.
I think it's part of the reason why LeBron's not so idolized, because he does take hard stances on things that a lot of people don't like to talk about.
I mean, how do you define not idolized? I mean, he's probably the most popular athlete
He's
on
also
the
very
planet.
polarizing. He is by a long generation of like Jordan fans is seen from a perspective of they won't ever respect him because he gets involved in those issues.
Yeah,
he's not
maybe.
Jordan and he's not Ali. Period.
How about Paul Pierce leaving him out of his top 5 players
Stupid.
ever?
He's still a great basketball player.
So
No,
mean.
that's the
Number
problem.
That's so
we have a hard
ridiculous.
time separating. It's like the
He's
Jordan.
not Jordan on the basketball side.
No.
He's not. It's unattainable. And then he's not Ali on the social
Justice.
side because that's also unattainable. Just
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing: does he have a better life than both those guys? Like a more as a human being, not as like popularity. Like he's got a tight knit family from all accounts. Like you know what I mean?
You and I
Seems
fight
like
about this all the time.
He seems like a more stable.
We can't
dude.
comment on it. We don't know these guys.
Maybe not.
We don't know any
Well,
of them.
I can say about Jordan for sure that he didn't, at least for quite a bit of time, right? He never saw his kids. He eventually him and his wife got divorced.
How do you say definitively that he never saw his kids?
Man, he went and played minor league baseball for 2 years. Like your kids aren't coming along on
You
that
think
time. Like his
LeBron
kids are
just sits
little.
at home all the time. I mean,
No,
he's getting
but
pulled in a lot of directions.
He is, but I just think I think
just
maybe
don't know,
in
Mike.
general.
That's why we asked them
don't
to
know.
do too much, because it's just we asked them to be great at what their sport is, and they put in more hours than what we could ever imagine. And then we want them to be great parents and great fathers and great this and great.
I don't want him to be any of
But
that shit.
society has put them in that situation where, especially like 24
It's an
hours.
image. It's a brand. You're building your brand. And your brand is whatever you think America wants you to be. And that's what makes Rodman so interesting. Because can you imagine him in the age of social media?
Used to make him interesting, yeah.
Right. When he was in the limelight, when he was in the sport.
But
None
he's
of these guys
still-
are interesting off
But he
the-
still stays
outside
in the
of it.
limelight because he messed around with Korea
Wow.
somehow. He has
Oh
nothing.
my
But that's the
God.
thing.
That was
no
still
one
like 10 years ago now.
Amazing, though. It's
Wasn't
funny
he,
to
didn't
think.
he take credit for Trump and Kim Jong Un meeting? He was
my
like, I
God,
put that
maybe,
together.
yeah.
But think about that. That guy hadn't been relevant in 20 years.
He's too much. See, I actually am on the you want to talk about people who do frustrate me. It's the guys like that who have more talent and then spend their time doing something stupid that
He was
that
so
that
great.
messes up their game. Yeah, but I mean, he
Messes up his game to the tune of a Hall of Famer.
you know.
He played into his late 30s, too.
Again, I don't know. Maybe you fall that same way on Shaq. Like he could have been better. Like in my mind, like I want them to be, to care. You can care about other stuff, but for me, for athletes, I'd prefer it if they cared about the sport the most. That's what I love about Jordan is that all that other stuff. Maybe he does say things, or maybe you don't like what he, the way he is. But the thing that he cared about most was the sport, and that's what made him amazing.
Yeah, but he quit basketball after 10 years, because he had so many things. He was in Atlantic. What would we do to LeBron today if he played golf with the guy who was playing in the finals and then was in Atlantic City until 2:30 in the morning before a 12 o'clock game? We would destroy any of them, any of the top guys in today's NBA.
Does he show up and perform like Jordan did
That's
after
the
that?
difference. That's why Jordan is, but Rodman too. The Vegas.
See, that's the thing. Like Rodman, and that's another thing. Like Rodman crapped on his teammates. Like that's just against like my personal code. Like I don't like it when a dude like you're gonna. I agree he landed on the right team. The Bulls were able to manage it, and they got great things out of him. But that's that was special on them, not on him. He was an asshole to those guys. Like that's
why we should give Kraus way
the
more
dude
credit
the
than
dude
what we
going
do.
to play WWF before a finals game.
That
Like,
was
get out of
Forget
here.
about that, Jesus.
Forget about it. Oh,
I had
man.
forgotten. I guess my
Nonsense.
my
Like, didn't even
timeline
tell
was
any of your
screwed up.
teammates. Like you can't.
I
don't
thought it was
remember
after
that.
it. I thought it was
You
right
you
after.
can't just
it.
be like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna do this," because no one they already know he's nuts. Like they wouldn't have been. They literally let him go to Vegas for a couple days. They would. Be
That
like,
was
all
Phil
right, cool,
being
be back.
genius, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I again, like it's even worse. He's like he keeps moving the line. Like now I'm just gonna bounce and not even tell anybody. Like, well, I mean, dude, that's just lame. At some point,
Didn't
like
do
at
it
some
very
point, it's
good.
just not. Like I just wouldn't enjoy being a part of it. I'd just be like, all right, dude,
It's a
whatever.
circus.
Yeah, like I just don't want to be a part of that anymore, and that's why he was out of the league a year later because nobody wants that. Really, like he was in a special circumstance. They tolerated
It's also
it.
38.
But none of
time,
those
too,
dudes
though.
wanted
He was
it.
ready to go.
He probably was.
He was
too.
on
I
a
mean,
perfect
honestly,
fix. All he
that
had to do was
honestly
defend.
that '98 team, he was kind of trash. Anyways, people they painted him in a very nice light. That last team, he was not. I mean, they were playing Bison Dele over him.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was not that good. Like every once in a while, he'd have a really good game, but he was like 8 points, 6 rebounds, or
Daly
eight boards,
got
like
a lot of
6
run in that.
Yeah.
In that.
and he was
finals.
good, by the way, too.
Yeah, he was and
Yeah.
dead
Yeah, he is.
in a weird circumstance too, like a boat accident or some homicide.
The slanting of the Jordan one is the biggest issue I have. It's incredibly good because we had no good TV to watch. There was nothing set up, nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, the game or whatever that match was drew a higher number than Jordan documentary. If that was a normal Sunday, we would have got like a 1. It wouldn't have outdid any
Yeah.
NFL game. But we have nothing to watch. So the Jordan documentary brought us a bunch of great things, but I would love to see it refuted from a little bit of the other side. But I'm not going to get that. But it was still really good to
You
watch.
will. Someone's gonna make it now that did.
But no one's going to give a shit. This was the perfect time.
Yeah.
No, he
Yeah, I
came
did
out
think it
bad.
was cool that Karl Malone got on the bus after that heartbreaking Game 6.
They were nicer in that era than what I ever imagined. They were
I guess I
closer.
never realized that people, when you're getting interviewed, the other person that's next to be interviewed is just sitting behind the curtain. So
I
like
thought
you
it was
had-
two separate places.
That was crazy. So you'd have like Reggie and Jordan crossing paths, Karl Malone, and they're always like, "Yeah, see you in the next city" or whatever.
How good
like,
were those fucking Pacers teams? God dang, so
know.
unlucky.
Unlucky.
Those two
Wrong-
good Pacers,
wrong time.
3 good
I
Pacers
forgot they all
runs.
shaved their heads.
I know.
That one.
Chris
I
Mullen
forgot about
looks-
that.
Chris
So
Mullen looks
goofy.
crazy. He had that flat top his whole life.
Mhm.
Running to Jordan, the Mouse at the Palace, and running to LeBron.
The Mouse at the Palace is the one that got him. That was a surefire
They should have
NBA
won it that
champion.
year. Yeah.
You think they were going to be NBA champions?
I think so.
100%.
Steven,
Who won that year?
Steven Jackson was just on.
The
Was just
fucking man.
on. He was talking about saying that they would have won.
Who
He
always?
thinks
So
they would've
Jermaine
won that year.
O'Neal, Harrington,
Artest.
Artest on his fucking.
Steven Jackson.
Reggie was still on it, right?
Reggie was
Yeah.
on there. Jamal Tinsley.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were tough.
Was Travis Best or was he on?
Chris
that?
Mullen.
Maybe.
No, he wasn't there.
Ben-
anymore.
Mullen
Bender.
was off, yeah, Jalen Bender.
Bender.
Jonathan Bender.
They have
Yeah,
either of the
Jonathan.
Davises left. So are they hanging? Either of them hanging around? still?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
They were going to win it all, though.
Did they have?
I was
who
at a bar in Indy
who
when
was
that
the
thing
white
went
guy?
down.
I called my brother John. He was at a party.
Austin Crozier.
He was on those teams, right?
Yeah.
That was the year the Pistons won it. They beat up Lakers team.
My favorite Reggie play ever is maybe his last year in the league. They're in the playoffs against the Nets, and he just drives down the lane and just two-hand yokes one on like half their team. And it was to win the game, or it was like to put them in the lead. He makes like 3 plays coming down the stretch.
He's one of those guys that always looks weird when he dunks.
But he
too.
had like those old legs.
yeah.
He always laid everything up basically
Yeah.
his entire career. But the only way he could make the basket was to dunk it, and he jumped over everybody and
Yeah.
dunked it. And I'm like, I was never a Reggie guy, but at that point I was like, God,
Has there
damn.
ever been a more awkward guy who was like a Hall of Famer, great player?
Real Tom Pritchard
like
dunk
did
there.
nothing, did nothing
that
you
come
watch.
from?
Like didn't shoot it great. Like a weird shot. Like never looked athletic around the rim. Tall, skinny. Like
Reggie
kinda
shot
lanky.
it great.
but he didn't look great. He shot with his thumb.
He
Not even
crossed
his
his
thumb.
arms.
I don't know what
Yeah.
he did.
He crossed
He
his
had some
arms,
weird
like
thing.
flicked it.
And he fucking put his legs out and get fouls. He's
Yeah.
a fucking man.
He was like just like a little nuisance out there too. Shit
I
talker.
wish they would have won. Man, that just hurts.
I love that Jalen.
That's
Rose.
what happens when
Jalen
you run
Rose
into
on
my
that team. Larry
Jordan.
Bird,
Oh,
coach.
Oh, Jalen Rose was on that
The
team
04
too.
team.
04, yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, Kobe gave him 81.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years?
Yep. 06.
God.
Was Jalen on that 04 Pacers team?
He was.
I think he was
100%.
on the 98 one.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah,
you're
he
right.
was
I'm
on the
missing.
98
Now we're getting
one.
them confused.
Yeah, that would have been a long time for him to play in the Pacers. He didn't. Play
He was
that
on the
long.
98 one and then didn't get. But he didn't get much PT on that team.
He was. I think he was up for like 6th man of the year that year, though, right?
In the playoffs, though, he did not play very much against that team. I remember.
Huh.
Almost, he wasn't out there
It's
at
so
all.
funny to
love
think
Jalen
about
Rose.
22 years ago.
I know. You can tell our memory. So that brings me back, though. I did want to talk because you said something about Jordan lying. I think that it is more, and you could see this in the documentary, like he projects almost like thoughts out there. So I think there's a difference between, like, for me, a lie is like more intentional, like to hide something or to, to confuse people. But I think that he, like, the story he tells about the guy who insulted him and then he comes back and scores whatever he scored in the first half. It was just a made up story.
The pizza story's pretty made up too.
Sure. What do you got? You think it was the 5 guys? That 5 guys showed up? That was the worst story
I always
ever.
thought it was he was hungover.
That's what I've always heard too.
I always thought that.
He can't ever have himself out there. And I guess if we were all telling the story, we would not want to tell stories about ourselves in bad lights. And he just can't ever do it.
Yeah, but he's got that power to make everyone else do it too. Like his trainer's on there. Like, yeah, it was. He
Dude,
called me. Why are you calling your trainer to the bathroom at 3 in the morning to
Right.
watch you vomit?
fucking
too?
weirdo.
Exactly.
Like
Like,
I don't
bottom
need
line.
anybody there.
He's a competitive nut job weirdo.
He is a nut job.
Would you go too? Hey man, I need you to come
Worst
over here.
dresser ever,
I'm
too.
vomiting in the bathroom. come
Well,
over-
yeah,
come-
if it was Michael Jordan calling me,
You
hell
would?
yeah, I'd be there. All right, what do you want me to do? Rub your back? Here's some Sprite.
You like the documentary? Did you like the documentary?
I loved it. I think it was perfect for what it is. I think it's a new era for sports documentaries right now. They're like infotainment, They're not real documentaries. The problem is people hear documentary and they think you're gonna watch the Civil War on PBS. Like that's not what this
I'm a
is.
huge documentary
I
guy.
know. I love like. Have you seen the Muhammad Ali George Foreman one?
No.
You haven't seen that?
No. What's that on?
I think it's on Showtime. When We Were Kings, I think it's the best sports documentary ever made. Like they've got like this is in the the 70s. So the writers they have over there are incredible. Norman Mailer's over there for like 2 months covering this. Like it's unbelievable. Like that tells a real story, and they were like real writers were there to cover it and take angles and get deep in there. And this just isn't that. Like this is just entertainment, and it was perfect for what it was. I agree with most of what you're saying in that if you wanted to tell an honest or a balanced story, this wasn't that. But
Hey,
it wasn't meant to
get
be.
them all back to fucking together on
That would be
Sports Center
great.
and
It would
do
never
it.
happen now.
Line
That
them
would
up.
be
Will
awesome.
Never happen now.
Yeah.
Simon, give me fucking
All
Krause's
over.
family. I'm getting there.
Everybody's too mad at each
Incredible.
other. I'm still trying to figure out why Pippen was mad. And Pippen's my guy. I love Pippen.
He just came off. He just did not come off well in it. I think.
See, I thought the exact opposite. I thought Pippen came across great minus the Kukoc stuff. Like in everything I read on internet message boards talked about how much better Pippen was than they ever remember him being through the documentary. I think it did a lot for his basketball talents. The documentary did.
There's
a
no.
lot.
There's
I just think he comes off like so.
the
petty.
Kukoc one's so bad.
The contract
just-
stuff, the
I
foot,
do have
the
a
foot where he was sitting out, delayed the surgery.
Yeah, Jordan
That's
said
Yeah.
pretty.
fucking-
Yeah,
but
that's
he-
That's what he's
that's
pissed
what
about,
he's pissed
too.
about.
But he even
Yeah.
comes out and says, "I wasn't gonna fucking ruin
Yeah.
my summer."
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we all cracked
and then,
up
And
and
then
laughed.
he wanted traded during a championship run. Like that's pretty lame, man.
Yeah.
Kobe did the same thing though. Kobe demanded.
But
a
why
fucking trade.
but why is Pippen mad? He did all that shit.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
Because
because
he
he
was
doesn't want it
painted
to
in
be
a
brought
negative
back
light.
up.
I didn't think he got painted in a negative light.
the
Though.
Kukoc stuff, they could have left that story out and not fucking.
That's
shit
what
on
people
it.
were saying, and maybe to an extent, yeah, he does have rabbit ears, though.
Kukoc not as good as I remember it though. I thought that guy was unbelievable. But
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I have a similar take.
yeah, I
On that.
always thought him as like.
He did hit those threes, those clutch
No,
threes, and shit like that.
I mean, he
but-
was a nice piece, but he wasn't like a
Ron Harper
top
gets
three
no
guy.
love in there.
Well, that's the other thing is you didn't hear from everybody.
You heard from
Very
Ron
often.
Harper as a fucking Piston more than you did as a
Cav,
Cav. Sorry, Cav and not a
One
fucking
jazz player too. Stockton's the only guy you get.
bully.
Yeah.
And they love the Kerr stuff. The Kerr story is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't believe they never talked about that. That's such a. odd similarity to have with someone that both your dads were murdered to never like talk about it ever. But I don't know. He didn't have Kerr's number, so
it's not a high school
so maybe it's
basketball
not
team.
weird.
I think that's the big difference.
no
Our
doubt.
playing days are a lot different. That's a business at
I
that
agree.
level.
Jordan didn't want to be friends with those guys. He didn't have anything in common with
Didn't
them.
have his number again.
No, I mean he's just a
Hey,
different guy.
what's Kerr's number? I just punched him in the face. I'm gonna give him a call.
I think he's just a different guy, and like I love it about him.
I-
It's what makes him the greatest.
I
ever.
think though maybe I wonder if he could do it over if he'd do it differently, because Barkley had not the same level of fame, but he was very famous, and that dude was always out there. Just like I think that Jordan isolated himself so much that maybe it made him like
his
stranger.
sponsors molded him into something that he felt like he couldn't not be.
But I mean, obviously, it didn't hurt Barkley, right?
Yeah, but Barkley's came
bad
slower
boy.
than Jordan's did, and they framed it around who he already was.
Yeah.
Jordan's came damn near immediate with the Nike stuff.
They thought he was gonna do $2 million over in the
Yeah, it was
third year, and he
crazy.
did $189 million his
Nuts.
first year.
Yeah.
Nuts.
The documentary. I wish they would do a movie on Shoe Dog. And we're looking at the book right
They
there.
are. They're doing a Netflix series on it.
Really.
Yeah.
You and I both read that.
I've read it. I read it every summer. I've read it 3 summers
I've read
in
it
a
too,
row.
by the way.
I don't read much. I never talked to you about it. I'm sorry, Meyer. Sorry for leaving.
We
you
need
out.
to do a book review on Shoe Dog. I need to read it again for the 4th time. Though,
I'll read.
so I'm
I'll
on point.
audiobook it again. That's how I got it first time. I'm a big audiobook guy on 7-hour drives.
That's because you're dumb. You can't read for yourself.
For sure.
For sure.
Speaking of dumb, can we tell the players of all the leagues stop talking during all this, the negotiations?
Baseball's not coming back, by the way.
Yeah, it is. They'll kill the sport if they don't do it.
It doesn't matter.
The sport is dead
Yeah. Why
already.
The players' union's too strong, and they're not going to fold. I mean, it's not a good deal. Well, I wouldn't come back either if for the ass that the owners have right now.
NBA's coming back.
They are, but they've also got a reason.
Nobody
the
thought that they would
50%
come back.
revenue split.
They're coming back.
How? Hang on, I want to hear a quick take. How, like a prediction to get it on here. How are they going to come back? What are they going to do? Just straight playoffs? They're going to bring all the teams back.
Damon
They're
Lillard
gonna-
looked like an idiot when what he said.
They're going to
there,
crown LeBron the Lakers champions and have a ticker tape parade in Wuhan to celebrate.
I love that your stance hasn't changed on that. I would love to see that. It's a
They
perfect.
need China back. That's how they're going to get China back, and then it's going to drive up revenue and the salary cap.
It
for
is a
next
perfect
year.
storm for the Lakers. Not have to go through a grind of a full season, get healthy, go.
I
a lot of
still-
people have that advantage though right now.
I still stand by. I hope Kawhi takes the first 2 games off back for load management. I would love that. It would be the greatest thing ever.
I love Kawhi.
Like, you know what?
I was in
load
here-
management. I need
What-
to take these first 2 games off.
What about this World Cup style pool play? You guys
Love pool play.
I think it's awesome.
Love it. Let's switch it up. You have one chance to switch it up, right? You have a reason to switch it up this year.
Are you guys putting an asterisk by this season? Because that's what I'm
No.
saying. Okay, good. I'm
fucking
totally
hard
in
to
on that.
win.
I
As
think
long
it's
as you
insane.
play, you play. I don't give
I
a
think
shit.
it's insane because I'm like every year you have weird circumstances. Like you can't not say
We don't
Toronto
do-
was the champs because KD blew out his Achilles or
Yeah,
the lockout
injury,
season.
An injury
or-
could provide an asterisk to every season, just
Exactly.
about.
The
You know?
lockout, yeah, that's a tough one.
You didn't hear Jordan complaining because Rodman went to WWF the night
We
before.
did.
game,
We were
right?
listening to fucking 10 hours of him bitching about everything.
A full 10 hours.
I don't think Dan likes Michael Jordan.
I fucking love him. I do. I just
I like Dan's takes though.
baseball
They're different than
because we all
everybody. Just like
they loved. There was a love fest.
It was
it's
a
easy.
love
It's
fest.
very very easy. But that was the love fest of what it was, and it was great. But I'm just out on that. I mean, it was pandering to people that loved it, and it was great. It fit everybody.
Dan's
but
out on
can't do it.
pandering.
can't pander.
I fucking hate it. There's nothing. There's nothing more I hate than pandering.
Can we talk about the Stephon Marbury documentary? Then?
We already tried. But I'm going to go to baseball. Here's the hard part that people don't understand. You get 32 people who are almost similar backgrounds, similar wealth, similar everything. It's easy to get them on one page. When you're talking about players, you're talking about 1,000 players. You're talking about baseball. You're talking about guys in the minor leagues. There has to be unison going, and it's very difficult to get. You just saw it with the NFL contract. They just put it to a vote to all those guys. You're talking about guys who are making $42 million versus a guy making $600,000. Those guys don't align in very many things. Average contract in baseball is 4 years. You're talking about giving up a year of service for those guys who are a year away from pension or that. And that's why they got to find a way to play 82 games. Owners, fuck the revenue. Like, that shit pisses me off because we just
I couldn't tell.
that bothers me. But the players need to be really quiet because if they just sit back and calm down and let the owners control the narrative, they're always going to look stupid.
But that ship has sailed because players have their own platforms now. That's the thing. Like that you could say be quiet now, but now they're on Twitter or Instagram blasting grams out. Like, it's gonna get out. Like, these guys are all sitting at home doing nothing. Like, they got too much time on their hands right now.
The problem that they have a hard time understanding is that they think, oh, you're making $1.5 million, you won't go fucking play baseball. Like, dude, if you were making $40,000 and someone said you're only going to make $15,000, you wouldn't
You'd
do
be
it.
mad.
So we have a hard time doing that. The baseball players, I mean, the Dodgers came out yesterday and just put a home run with how they did it.
But you always have a choice to not do it and go do something else. That's my problem.
And that's why.
That's fine. Like, if you want to bitch and be pissed about your salary being cut in half, that's fine. Just don't play. Shut up about it and don't play. That's your choice.
Yes.
But then, when those checks stop coming, whether it's 1.9 or the 4.2 you're used to making, regardless, when them checks stop coming.
And athletes are
what you
just
gonna
like
do?
us in a lot of avenues. I mean, their bills are higher than ours, but very few. I mean, look at me, I'm go broke.
That's what I'm saying.
So you're talking about a guy like we as normal people who have normal jobs, we can't fathom someone getting $4 million and going broke, which was hard for us to comprehend. So when they come out and say, fuck, I'm not playing for that, people are like, are you fucking kidding me? They only can look bad, and the owner's like, just stay back. The owners never comment.
Yeah, but it's about defending your principle, like you said. I think you said it better when you're like, look, if you made 40,000, someone said, hey, now you're making 15. You're going to pop off. Like, that's going to, and it takes tremendous discipline. And I think that if you look, there's so many more athletes, like the majority of them are staying silent, do understand that. But there's always going to, I mean, if you look at Rodman, there's always going to be that guy out there.
But
that's
people
gonna
didn't know who Ian Snell was until he opened his mouth.
Exactly. But
I'm in a group chat with 8 other people,
that's the guy that
and 2 guys go, is he any good? Have no idea.
I don't know. I honestly don't
won the
know.
Cy Young last year.
Yeah, I knew that.
Shows you how much I watch baseball.
Yeah, and
now.
he's got
But I only knew that because it was like underneath the little thing when he was like going off.
There you go. Yeah.
But the Dodgers came out yesterday and said that anyone under 75,000 is not going to have their salary cut. Everybody over 75,000 are going to take up to a 40% pay cut. So they were able to pay all their employees, and their PR move was brilliant. It was well thought out, and no one said anything about it. They just released what they were doing and moving on. These athletes have a chance to kind of change the narrative, and I think right now is not a good time to be talking about things. People need sports to come back because it's a big part of our.
We'll see.
The
good news is, like, even before football starts, we'll get. I think we're going to get some kind of NBA. We're going to get some kind of baseball.
So they won't be the
hopefully.
first ones coming.
So they won't be the first ones. You'll get to see, like, does the bubble even work? Because if the bubble doesn't work and these athletes get sick in there, then it ain't coming back. Then it really is.
But we have to be okay with positive
define
tests.
sick.
12 NBA
I
players
mean, like
had
somebody
nothing
like going to
happen
the
to
hospital. Somebody going to the hospital.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or a coach. I mean, the thing is, too, everyone always thinks about the athletes, which is great. But there are a lot of old coaches out there, too, that are way more at risk than the athletes. Most of the athletes, they get it. A bunch of the NBA guys already had it. They're fine now.
Nothing ever happened to them in general.
But Greg Popovich is 73. He dies from, I mean, that's, wow. You know what I mean? Like, that blows the roof off.
So
stuff.
it's here's what, like, I saw a bunch of high school coaches tweeting and making messages about this the other day, is that the governor came out and said they weren't going to allow high schools to go with people, and then Grant Park immediately, here's our rates for everything, blah 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 blah. It's a liability concern.
Yeah.
The schools want to make sure to see that everybody's having success outside of them, and then they're willing, because they're not going to be the first ones to put with the liability and not do it. So I think as we start seeing things come back slowly, and the numbers look good, I don't even know, the bubble's fine, but baseball, what are they going to do? I mean, baseball,
they said they're playing their home stadiums. That's what I've heard floated out there. So
I'm
maybe
okay
they
with
do.
it. I think I think the numbers are looking good. I think sports are going to have to come. It's a big part of the economy.
He'll be back.
It's more about the conscience than the economy. Even I don't even know, because without fans, I don't think it's going to bring it as much back as
the
think.
Fans is going to be the interesting. The players will play.
Yeah.
There will be games, because in football you can, at your big universities, which is all anybody gives a shit about. We're talking Power 5 football here. Their stadiums can accommodate 20,000-25,000 with social distancing and shit like that. Is it going to make it different? Yes. Is it going to be weird? Yes. Is the money still going to be generated through the TV rights and all that stuff? Yes. Not through concession, not through ticket sales. They take a little bit of hit. Everybody gets football.
Would you go to Tennessee game on first opening weekend if they were playing?
Yeah. Fuck, I don't give a shit.
Would Gary go?
No, but my dad's also like 67 years old.
I know.
And it's both of our choices whether we want to attend or not.
That's what I think.
And the consequences from attending.
And you said opening day. I mean, I think it's crazier to be the first balloon out there. Like, let's let a few other people see. If it goes off a weekend, nobody gets something, you feel a little better about it. You can say, all right.
If I could get cheap NBA playoff tickets and sit courtside for $40, I'd try to take my son and my entire family there.
Yeah.
Right
well,
now,
that's just me.
Well, they could sell. Imagine how much they could sell tickets to the bubble too. Like if you could somehow get in there, you could go for like 2 months and just be in this
No
little
doubt.
gym. Like how amazing would that be?
It's like the
Can you
Olympic
get-
Village, but
can you get
there's
us a-
fans involved
Can
in
you
it
get us
too.
a press pass
we
down
pick up
there,
Nike?
Barnett?
Can we
Barnett,
pick up
Nike
can you
United
call
moving
Slam
there?
up and be
Yeah, I was
like,
eating with LeBron last night. Like, he's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
does Dime Magazine have a connection that we could?
Slam, you mean?
Yeah, well, I said both.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dime's gone.
I know.
We
Just
only, we only talk about Slam here
somebody that you know that can get us in the bubble.
now. We don't know anybody. We're not that
We
important.
desperately need sports back, is what I really know. Well, guys, it was good seeing you.
It was
guys
great.
all.
I wish I
I
could
don't
say
know
the
if we'd ever
same.
see that.
It was fun. I do appreciate you guys coming down.
Let's
here.
I need it.
Let's
can do
take
this
Barnett out and take all his shorts.
Te-
We're gonna start our own company. 18-9.
Be sure to text your neighbors, right?
Absolutely.
Text your
Text your
neighbors.
neighbors.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
We'll start to.
You don't have to like and subscribe anymore. We're good.
Oh, just text your neighbor.
Just text your neighbors.
All right, we're out of
All
here.
right.
Thank you for listening to the 19.9 podcast with HVS, the high volume shooters. For more information, check out the blog at 199.com under HVS. And while you're there, do yourself a favor and pick up some retro college shorts. Till next time.